Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share something a little different, something that's been on my mind for a while now. I reached the end of my life without a single major scratch on me, physically or emotionally, and I used to think that was a victory. But now I know it is actually a tragedy. My name is John. I am 80 years old, and my biggest regret is that I spent 8 decades carefully tiptoeing through existence to make it safely to death. I treated my life like a fragile vase that needed to be kept on a high shelf, dusted and protected, never realizing that a vase is useless if it never holds any flowers, if it is never passed around a table, if it is never at risk of being shattered. I grew up in a time and a family where stability was the only God worth worshiping. My father grew up in the Depression, and to him, a steady paycheck, a pension, and a paid-off mortgage were the ultimate markers of a successful man. I absorbed that fear like a sponge, letting it seep into my bones until I viewed the world not as a playground, but as a minefield. When I was 22, freshly graduated from university, I had a passion for photography. I wanted to travel to Vietnam, not as a soldier, but to document the humanity of the people there, to see the world through a lens and capture something raw and real. I had the talent, and I even had a small portfolio that a magazine editor had praised. But then, the offer came from the insurance firm. It was a desk job, gray and predictable, but it came with benefits and a clear ladder to climb. I remember sitting at my kitchen table with the 2 paths laid out before me, the winding, foggy road of the artist or the paved, well-lit highway of the actuary. I chose the highway. I told myself I was being mature. I told myself I would do the photography on the weekends, but the weekends turned into recovery time from the work week. And eventually, the camera stopped coming out of the bag altogether. The insidious thing about safety is that it feels good in the moment. Every time I said no to a risk, I felt a wash of relief. When my friends were quitting their jobs to start businesses or backpacking across Europe with no money, I would sit in my comfortable apartment and feel a smug satisfaction that I wasn't stressing about where my next meal was coming from. I looked at their chaotic lives and thought, thank goodness that isn't me. I felt smart. I felt insulated. I thought I was winning the game because I wasn't losing any pieces. But what I didn't understand then is that you cannot win a game you refuse to play. While they were out there accumulating scars and stories, failing and getting back up, falling in love with the wrong people and getting their hearts broken, I was just existing. I was preserving my status quo. I married a woman named Linda, and even that was a calculated decision. I loved her, or I thought I did, but it wasn't a fire that consumed me. It was a partnership that made sense. She was safe. She was from a good family. She had similar goals, and she didn't challenge me. We never fought. We never had those passionate, screaming arguments that end in laughter and tears. We just coexisted in a polite, frictionless orbit. We built a beautiful house. We raised 2 children who are just as sensible as we were. And we went to the same vacation spot in Florida every single year for 30 years because we knew the hotel was clean and the restaurants were reliable. I remember one night, lying in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, feeling a desperate urge to just get in the car and drive until I ran out of gas, just to see what would happen. But I didn't. I rolled over, checked the alarm clock, and went to sleep because I had a meeting at 9 a.m. The realization didn't hit me all at once. It was a slow, creeping rot that started in my 60s. I attended the funeral of an old friend from college, a man named Pete. Pete had been a disaster in his 20s. He had started 3 companies that failed. He had been divorced twice. He had moved to Brazil on a whim and lost everything. By traditional standards, he was a mess. But at his funeral, the room was packed. People were crying, laughing, telling stories about how Pete had changed their lives, about the crazy adventures they had shared, about the time he bet his last dollar on a horse, or the time he hitchhiked across the country. His life was a tapestry of vivid colors, some dark, some bright, but all of them real. I looked around that room and realized that if I died tomorrow, my funeral would be polite. It would be quiet. People would say, John was a good man. He was reliable. He was punctual. And that would be it. There would be no stories. There would be no laughter. I had successfully arrived at the finish line without a scratch, and I was completely empty. I realized then that the pain of failure is acute, but it heals. If you start a business and it goes bust, you lose money, you feel embarrassed, but then you recover and you have a lesson. If you get your heart broken, you cry, you mourn, but then you find love again with a deeper understanding of what you need. But the pain of regret, the pain of safe, that doesn't heal. It's a chronic condition. It's a dull ache in your soul that wakes you up at 3 a.m. and whispers, what if? It's the ghost of the life you didn't live, haunting the hallways of the house you paid off early. I have millions in the bank. I have a robust retirement portfolio, and I would trade every single dime of it to be broke in Paris at 25, wondering how I was going to pay rent, but feeling alive. I see young people today, and I see so many of them falling into the same trap I did, disguised as optimization. You have so much data now. You can research every decision to death. You can read reviews for every restaurant, look up the success rate of every degree, analyze the risk factors of every date. You are so terrified of making the wrong choice that you are making the default choice. You are staying in jobs you hate because the market is uncertain. You are waiting to get married until you are financially ready. You are waiting to travel until you have enough time. You are optimizing your life for safety, just like I did. And I am here to tell you that you are optimizing for a life of regret. There is no such thing as a safe life. That is the great cosmic joke. You can eat all the kale, wear your seatbelt, save your money, and avoid all the risks, and you will still die. You might get hit by a bus, or get a diagnosis out of the blue, or simply grow old and fade away. The safety you are sacrificing your dreams for is an illusion. It is a security blanket that suffocates you. I tried to control everything, to mitigate every variable, and all I did was ensure that nothing interesting ever happened to me. I sat on the sidelines and watched the parade go by, thinking I was smart for not getting rained on, only to realize that the rain was the point. The getting wet, the getting muddy, the dancing in the storm, that was the point. I am 80 years old, and I am tired of being sensible. I look at my hands, and they are soft. They are the hands of a man who never built anything with them, who never fought for anything, who never climbed a mountain. I look at my heart, and it is unbruised, and that is a shame. A heart should be battered and patched up by the time you reach my age. It should be a map of the people you loved and lost and loved again. If you are listening to this and you are standing at a crossroads between the thing you want to do and the thing you should do, please, for the love of God, take the risk. Buy the ticket. Kiss the girl, quit the job. Start the band. Fail. Fail spectacularly. Fail so hard that you become a legend among your friends. Because when you are sitting in this chair at 80 years old, you will not regret the times you tried and fell on your face. You will cherish them. You will polish those memories like trophies. What you will regret, what will haunt you until your final breath, is the safety. The quiet, comfortable, reasonable safety that stole your life while you were busy making other plans. Don't be like me. Don't let your tombstone read, "He never made a mistake." Let it read, "He lived